Yes! It's Friday night. I'm sitting here going over some of the free agency news. I'm pretty jacked up. I woke up this morning with a little bit of a sore throat. I'll be honest. I have. I'm going to go over some of the big free agents here, but I don't plan on being on here too long. But as long as there's questions coming, the comments are coming through, then I'll go ahead and I'll just keep going here. Don't forget, Monday morning I'm going to release my very first mock draft. If you've been following my show for a while and you followed a live stream, there are going to be no trades except for the first pick in the draft, which I firmly believe when everything's said and done, Washington and Chicago will flip-flop picks. I think Washington will pick number one. I firmly think that they're going to take Caleb Williams, and I think Chicago will, at the 2 spot, they can get a little creative at that time. Justin Matabuke earlier today signed a huge deal, 4-year, $98 million deal. The big winner in that's Christian Wilkins for some reason. I'm still not sure why Christian Wilkins is going to leave via free agency. I think he's actually a better player than Matabuke, but I know that the Dolphins are trying to figure out how they're going to give Tua all that money, but man, a guy like Wilkins is really, really hard to pass up. I think it's a mistake personally, but we'll find out. A lot of times there's things that are not public, but from everything I've heard, Wilkins is a guy that is a good locker room guy. He's a leader. He's not a guy that clashes, with. I mean, look, I'm gonna be honest. I think Mike McDaniel is kind of a different type of dude. So maybe he can contrast with him. I don't know, man. I don't know. Funk. What's up, brother, man? He says, what's good, Dan? Lions fans have ridiculous expectations. They think that they can trade for Snead or Lattimore, sign Hunter Jones. Yeah, I've been trying to tell Lions fans, I think the hardest part about this is, so here's the thing. A lot of Lions fans, it's kind of funny because a lot of Lions fans are like, hey, listen, we've turned the page, but then they want to relapse into the old mindset where they have where they can go out with a lot of money and high draft picks and get whatever they want. It's a different day, and the biggest challenge Detroit's going to have is keeping that group together. I think the Houston Texans have more free agents than any other team, but when I was going through, I think it was Sport Track. I'll have to double check, but the only team that had less than 40 players signed into the 2024 season was the Detroit Lions. And listen, I try to break it down like this when people say, oh yeah, somebody so-and-so will take a hometown discount. Whatever job that you have, if you exceed expectations and you do better and the company does way better, what do you expect? You expect a raise. So imagine going into your boss and saying, oh, you know what? You did a great job. Company exceeded expectations, but can you work for about 30% less? And it's not realistic. A lot of these Lions players, and they should have this mindset that they help do something that, when's the last time Detroit went to an NFC championship? It was 91 against Washington, correct? I think maybe it was played 92, 91, 92. Over 30 years. Wasn't that the last time Detroit even won a playoff game? And they won 2? Now you want guys to come back after winning 2 playoff games, coming a quarter and a half to a Super Bowl against an opponent you beat in regular season, and say, you know what? Yeah, take 30% less. It's not going to happen. So, Yeah, no, it's a different day. I think Detroit's going to do something different this year in the draft. I actually think they'll trade out of round one and try to stockpile this roster with young talent. That's kind of the way I see it. Don't be surprised if Detroit trades up, but yeah, you're right. The Lions have like 48 million right now. They need like 6 for the draft. They need to keep 7 or so for the season. So they only got 35 to spend. They don't have a guard on the roster. Ooh, boy. I've said this before to you, and I don't have it pulled up. Actually, I got the site pulled up, but I don't actually have the. So what I've been doing is I've been using this thing called NFL Draft Lounge, and it's an excellent tool for doing mock drafts. I have all the free mock draft tools, and I like doing the free ones. This one I think is the best one, and I've been mocking the same player. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure when everything's said and done that I'm going to have this as the pick, but I've been going with Graham Bertram, the guard. Okay, so he played tackle, and I'm trying to pull it up here, and okay. So the site's being janky with me when I try to use it. Great, now it's okay. So anyway, I'm not going to do it now. Graham Bertram, the left tackle out of Duke, who's going to play guard or center, and I keep it's kind of funny because like he's just a high effort, high energy player, not really a first round talent. This is a plug and play guy though at guard, and it makes a lot of sense. And I've been using this, like I said, I've been using it, and then I try to look some stuff up on my live stream, and it fucks up. But guard in round one, I know it's high, but I'm kind of looking at the way Detroit's building their team and where they use their draft picks on. They go inside out, and it wouldn't surprise me if you use this the first pick in the draft on an offensive lineman. But I really think that what you could do is very easily just go ahead and trade out and still get a day one starter at guard. And that to me makes a lot of sense. Sorry, they got a little under 47. Yeah, Sport Track's not perfect. They're janky. They said Sean Elliott was going to get 11 when he left Detroit. He got yeah. I think it was Sport Track, but I remember I was kind of surprised at how many free agents Detroit had, and when you exceed expectations, and I know a lot of you Lions fans are thinking you're going to the playoffs. I knew Luke G did, but I don't think you guys. Some of you guys were saying, "Hey, this is a Super Bowl caliber team," and you came really close. I mean, you came as close as you could. Those guys want to get paid. So it's a different – Detroit has to reevaluate how they're doing things because they've never been in a situation where they have the second best team in the NFC. And when you have the second best team in the NFC, what do you do now? Well, the goal is to now you have to keep your team together, and it's a lot easier said than done because all these guys are going to want a lot of money. All these guys are going to want a lot of money. Yeah, but you're right about Sport Track. It's a little so. But I was trying to. I'm gonna have to clean up all the stuff on my computer here because I have way too many things on my save chart here that I had like 60 things here because I was going to put the link in to this. I'm going to send this to you here. I'm going to put this in the comments here because this is the tool I've been using, and hopefully it'll come out correct. But the interior Graham Bartram. I'm sorry. Hopefully you can take a look at him, see what you think. Player out of Duke. it's just basically when I started watching him, I'm like, that's kind of a Dan Campbell type of dude. So, I mean, they have guards, but not a starter. I want to draft McCormick from South Dakota State in the third. That would be a great pick. That would be a great pick, and I think he's a guy that may not even be available in the third round. He's a guy may not even be available in the third round. That would be. I'll be honest with you. He could be a day one starter. You get him in round 3, but he may not stay that late. He just might not. He's a really good player. Really good player. I was trying to. Really good player. All right, so I'm gonna. By the way, all questions are answered. Anything goes. But I am going to go over some of these free agents, and I'm going to start off with the number one free agent. I'm going off the NFL Network, so I'm not calling him the number one free agent, but this is the NFL Network's list. It's top 101. Trek Reviewer, what's up, brother, man? Thanks for sending me a friend request on Instagram. You know what? I completely forgot. I was going to put the link in for one of my longtime subscribers, Gary. Actually, I'm actually going to put the link in now. All right, guys, I'm a little ate up today, a little all over the place because one of the things that I've been trying to do is try to get a little more organized, which I'm failing on doing here. So bear with me one moment. I told Gary, because he's a huge draft junkie, and he said he wasn't being able to see the videos or the live streams, and I told him I would send him the link here. So, all right, little ate up today. Current thoughts, hopes are to pick up a Duze or Darby, re-sign Glasgow, and hopefully Lotu falls to 20. Lions moving up, giving up a third in round 2, take Leggett, and in the third get McCormick. You know what? I normally, when fans post comments like this, I usually kind of like, oh, God. This makes a lot of sense, Funk. This is actually really good. This is actually really, really, really good. This is really, really, really good. And I normally wouldn't give you this type of credit here, but this is fantastic. And I'll tell you why. I'm looking at the draft here. 20's Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh wants to trade down. All right. They just released Patrick Peterson. They released Mason Cole, their center. I think that I'm kind of looking at them at 20 going offensive line, but I don't know that any interior offensive lineman has a first round grade. So I could see you going from 29 to 20. That makes a lot of sense. I'm also looking at Miami at 21 as a team that would be willing to trade with you guys. Philly at 22 is always creative in the draft. So I mean, you got the Rams at 19. Who knows what the Rams are going to do? So 19, 20, 21, and 22. The Houston Texans pick at 23. That's another team that may be interested in trading down. So you got the right mindset here. And here's the drill. 29 to 20. I'm using the old school. I'm using the old school Jimmy Johnson chart, which is available. I'm using Draft Tech, and I understand different teams use different things to value draft picks, but let's just put in the value here because Pittsburgh's a pretty smart team, but they don't mind trading down here. So let's just say Pittsburgh 850, 640. So let's just say pick number 73. Maybe a little rich, but let's say you give up 73, 29 and pick 73 to get up to 20. I'll be honest, that's kind of a win-win. Pittsburgh gets a trade down. You pick number 92. McCormick 92 may be a little. I could see McCormick going late round 2. I can also see him going early in round 3, but I've seen players fall like this too. To sit here and say McCormick at 92 is unrealistic, no, it's completely realistic. It makes a lot of sense. Latu at 20 makes sense. I really want you to watch my mock draft video. So, but the mocks I've done. So I haven't started making the video yet because I wanted to find out who gets signed today, like Matabuke being signed today. Is a big signing. Jalen Johnson being signed by Chicago. That's a big signing. Those are important signings when it comes to free agency and the mock draft. Now, keep in mind, I wasn't going to pick a corner to Chicago at 9, but defensive line at 30 for Baltimore made a lot of sense, even though they got guys. But Matabuke re-signing, well, I mean, spoiler alert, I'm not using the defensive lineman to Baltimore at 30. I'm not going to say who I was, but it was in the mix. Now it's not. Latu at 20 does make sense because I'm looking at this draft and who's going to go before him. You're going to have a couple of receivers going to go before him. You're going to have a couple quarterbacks go before him, maybe 5. I mean, maybe. You're going to have 4 quarterbacks. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. When you talk about draft, you're going to have 4 quarterbacks, 3 receivers, probably 3 offensive linemen definitely going before Latu. Definitely. Then Dallas Turner's probably going to go. Probably a corner. All right, I just nailed 12. And Latu's a guy going into the draft. I was like 10 to 15 range, something like that. Let me find out here. I love Daniel Jeremiah. So anyway, I'm gonna get Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 prospects, and here's the thing: he just released his new top 50 after trying to see if I can find it real fast here, but I'm trying to go top 50 players from Daniel Jeremiah. I had it saved and I just deleted it. I feel like such a dick. Let's see here. I wonder if I can just do this here. Daniel Jeremiah. Okay. So Latu, hopefully it's the newest one here. Oh, okay, good. I'll get the newest one here. Let's take a look at Daniel Jeremiah. Obviously he works for the NFL Network. He's not a, he doesn't work. He was a longtime scout for the Baltimore Ravens. And I really think his value, so he has him at 18. All right. So when you talk about a trade to 20, can a player who's ranked 18th be at 20? Yeah. So here's the thing: when you do a trade, because a lot of teams only think one-sided, right? So I try to look at both ways. When you talk about a trade, you have a team in Pittsburgh at 20 that would definitely want to trade down. I think Pittsburgh's a team that when I circle this on the draft, who wants to trade down? Steelers at 20, I think definitely want to trade down. Let's say Detroit at 29 really wants Latu. He's available at 20. Well, is Pittsburgh going to take an edge rusher at 20? No. So you have a trade partner, okay? You have an extra third-round pick. You have 73 and 92. 92 is probably not going to be enough, but 73 would make a lot of sense. 73 would make a lot of sense. Giving up a little more than you want, but you're wanting to trade up in the first round. It's fair trade. It really is. So Latu at 20, that makes a lot of sense. Normally when people say things like this, I usually just shrug. This makes sense. Okay, second round, Leggett. Can Leggett, a guy who really was impressive at the combine, very, very impressive. Most years, Leggett would be top 25. Easy. Not this year. Not this year. And I'm looking at Leggett, and you said the last live stream, hey, I can see the Lions taking him at 29. I was like, no, well, wait a minute. And ever since you said that, when I do mock drafts, I've been looking at 29. I'm like, Leggett makes a lot of sense right there. And I think he would be available. Leggett, I had as a second round pick. Brain freeze at 21 minutes here. The guy who he looks like a carbon copy of both went to USC, South Carolina, USC. In South Carolina, they call Southern South Carolina USC, but it's not. Usually, if you say USC, what does somebody think? They think University of Southern California, not University of South Carolina. Number 19, got injured in the Super Bowl. I went South Carolina, second round pick, one of my favorite players in the NFL. Got hurt in the Super Bowl. Really big impact, too. Really big impact. I can't believe I forgot his name. Built like a running back, just like Leggett. I'm so embarrassed. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Very embarrassing faux pas. Anyway, Leggett at 61. I've seen weirder things. Remember DK Metcalf fell to 63? And DK Metcalf, a lot of people thought could have gone top 10. So Leggett at 2 at 61. Is he a top 50 player? Yeah. Could he be available at 61? Absolutely. Absolutely. And then McCormick at the bottom of the third. I've seen weirder things. It's, this makes a lot of sense, Funk. When fans talk about mock drafts with their players, they usually, I've seen some crazy stuff, and usually when fans do like, here's my pick 1 through 7, and like they have 5 first round picks because they use something stupid like PFF, and then like really stupid trades like, oh, I'll give a 4th round pick in 2026 and move up 15 spots in the first round. And no, this makes sense. This makes sense. So I understand. Yeah, I look, seriously, 29 and 73 to get to 20 makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Okay. Yeah, well, okay. 92, a 5th, and maybe a future 4th. If they moved me, yeah, actually that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. A 5th round draft pick, maybe a future 4th in order to move up in the 3rd round. That makes a lot of sense. So Funk, normally when people talk about mock drafts with their teams, they have stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense. Could Latu fall to 20? Absolutely. Would Pittsburgh want to take Latu at 20? No. Pittsburgh's a team that really, really, really wants to trade down in this draft because I think that they don't have a starting center. Was it Jackson Powers, guy out of Oregon? Good combine. He just kind of looks like a Steeler. Guy feels like a Steeler. And I've been thinking, okay, that would be a perfect plug and play at 20. But could you get him at 29? Maybe not, because Buffalo just released Buffalo had a fire sale. They released Mitch Morris, both safeties, Tre'Davious White. It's kind of funny. Tre'Davious White was the player that the Bills took after the trade with Kansas City, where Kansas City got Patrick Mahomes. So Kansas City got Patrick Mahomes. The Bills got Tre'Davious White, and Tre'Davious White's no longer on the Bills team. It appears as of right now the Chiefs won that trade with Buffalo, getting Patrick Mahomes. It's kind of a stretch to say, but since Tre'Davious, and by the way, I was kind of mad at the time because I really liked Tre'Davious White. I was like, and the Chiefs needed a corner, but he's no longer with the Chiefs. I would love, by the way, you talked about Snead. Tre'Davious White would be perfect in Detroit, and you may be able to get him cheap because he's coming off a serious injury. I had a huge man crush on Tre'Davious White coming out of LSU. Really, really, really liked him coming out of LSU. And I remember when the Chiefs traded up for Mahomes, I wasn't that high on Mahomes. And then some Chiefs fan put a thing in like, oh, this is well, we proved all the haters wrong. And you can say that about every single draft pick, that you'll find something that says, hey, this guy didn't work out as well. And like Marvin Harrison Jr., for example, you can find YouTube videos and clips like, oh, Marvin Harrison does this wrong and does that wrong. And I said something. What was the game against Penn State where he came out after the first drive, he wanted a breather? I'm like, dude, this is both teams are undefeated, both teams are in the top 10, and it's first drive of the game, and you're coming out for a breather. It's first drive. I understand you had like 3 or 4 straight. And it bothered me. It really bothered me. And Ohio State ended up kicking a field goal. They won that game comfortably, by the way. I think the score was like 20-3 or something. Penn State was one of those top 10 teams. It's not really a top 10 team. But it bugged the hell out of me because you were dominating. It's the first drive of the game and you need a break. Because I remember thinking if he stayed in, they score a touchdown. It was instead of 3. I'm like, listen, you're going against an undefeated team with a really good defense, a struggling offense, and your goal is to trying to get 3. Come on. And it really bugged me. And ever since then, I've always kind of like, does Marvin Harrison have that dog in him? That Michael Irvin, that Steve Smith, that Amon-Ra St. Brown type of attitude? Is he have that? I mean, and that's kind of, but no, this makes a lot of sense. All these make a lot of sense. That was a phenomenal mock for the Detroit Lions 1, 2, and 3. This is fantastic, Funk. This is fantastic, and the way I have StreamYard set up, I'm only able to keep 50 hours, so I'm probably going to delete this in the near future. But I really think that I wish more fans of all 32 fan bases thought like this, where Aduze or Darby, guys that you can sign, they're within the budget. Okay, you weren't getting Jalen Johnson. You're not going to be able to sign Snead, but can you sign Aduze or Darby? Yeah. Can you get Latu at 20? Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there's fans out there thinking, oh yeah, there's probably some Carolina Panthers fans like, you know what? Maybe we could trade up into 20. If Marvin Harrison Jr. drops, he'd be a good fit. And it's like, come on, man. I mean, but this makes a lot of sense. This is a good one. This makes a lot of sense. I'm starring this. I'm gonna save it. All right. Here's our Lions fans are going to hate me. I'm going to go through the top. This is by the NFL Network, the top 101 free agents. I'm not going to go through all 101, but I want to go through some of them and talk about where they fit in teams I have them going to. And I have it stuck in my head. I don't have a specific rhyme or reason for it. And I know the Bears drafted 3 defensive tackles last year. Gervon Dexter, one of my favorite players coming out of Florida. He's more of a space eater type, not really a threat to get after the passer. But after they signed Sweat, and then they signed him long term, which I thought was really genius. I think they got some money. Even after signing Jalen Johnson, they still have some money. I keep thinking Chris Jones in Chicago just makes sense. It just does, because if you're the Bears and you have 2 picks in the top 9, I again, spoiler alert, I have them flip-flopping with Washington. So Washington takes Caleb Williams. So you got Justin Fields. At pick number 2, there's some really good receivers available. I mean, this is just common sense. At 9, you're going to have some good receivers available. Okay. At 2 and 9, you have some good pass rushers available. Law 2 at 9 is kind of a reach, but let me throw this out at you. And Lions fans, you tell me how much you hate me right now. Marvin Harrison Jr. at 2. You sign Chris Jones in free agency. Law 2 at 9. How much do you hate the Chicago Bears? It kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense. You use picks 1 and 9. Hit some. I think, and that's kind of what I think. You get a wide receiver, you get an edge rusher. Sign Chris Jones in free agency. Fields improves. How good are the Bears? I mean, that's a good football team. And I keep seeing Chris Jones as a Bear. It just kind of makes sense to me. I don't want it to happen. I mean, look, I'm a fanboy, and I've watched Chris. So Mississippi State had Dak Prescott, Chris Jones, and this running back who I absolutely loved. He wasn't an NFL player. He was like 5'8", 190, 200, and at the combine ran like a 4.8 something. But he was so much fun to watch because like he ran like a fullback. You could tell he didn't have breakaway speed, but I thought he was going to do better than 4.8. And I saw 4.8. It's like, okay, you can't play in the NFL. If you're a 200-pound running back and you run a 4.8, you can't play in the NFL. That's just you just can't. But at Mississippi State, he was a lot of fun to watch. And I just remember watching Chris Jones and just falling in love with the dude. I mean, he just looked like a man among boys. And I remember actually when I did my mock drafts, I actually had Chris Jones going to Detroit. I think Detroit had like 15 through 18 or something like that. And I kept on saying that's the type of guy Detroit needs. And then Chris Jones slid in the second round. But that's kind of what I see with Chris Jones. I really could see him going to the Bears. It just kind of sticks in my mind. Makes a lot of sense. You put him in Sweat, use the 9th pick on an edge rusher. You're good. That's just kind of what I've been seeing. He could go to a lot of different places. I want him to come to Kansas City. Kansas City's asked a lot out of Chris Jones over the years. So I don't think it's realistic for Chiefs fans. Yeah, I know what he said during the parade. Chiefs fans keep pointing at that. Like, oh, did you hear what he said during the parade? That he's coming back. What the fuck are you supposed to tell Chiefs fans? Yeah, I know we're having our Super Bowl parade, but in a couple of weeks I'm going to be gone. I mean, is that what the fuck he's supposed? No, he's not. Chiefs fans, he's probably not going to come back. Get used to it. And here's the drill. When he wanted his first major contract, we traded 2 number ones to Seattle for Frank Clark and gave him $100 million. And then we told Chris Jones, hey, we're not giving you $100 million. And he was pissed. He should have been pissed, but him and Frank Clark ended up becoming good friends, and that was smart of Chris Jones not being smart enough to realize, hey, I'm not going to hate the guy who got $100 million from the team that I should have got $100 million from. And they did. And by the way, I told Chiefs fans, I was like, this is a big mistake by the Chiefs, but Frank Clark will help Chiefs win the Super Bowl. And he did. He was instrumental in the playoff push to beat the 49ers the first time. But I also remember thinking that by trading for and signing Frank Clark, a player who's not as good as Chris Jones, and giving him $100 million, you can't sign Chris Jones. And the Chiefs found a way to get it done. And they signed Chris Jones. And this offseason, he held out, and the Chiefs tweaked his contract a little bit. But it's been going on for a long time. So if you break the bank for Chris Jones, I think he turns 30 this offseason. I should have that memorized. I don't, but look, is Chris Jones' play going to get better after he turns 30, after he's been in the NFL for what, 8, 9 years? And the Chiefs traditionally haven't been doing that. So, I mean, Chris Jones is going to go into the Hall of Fame. He's that good of a player. Is he going to stay in Kansas City? No. I know this. So I keep seeing Chicago, but there's several different there's several different places that he could go to. It's just ingrained in my head for some reason he's going to Chicago. Funk says, I don't hate the Bears. I dislike their fan base. They act like they've been super dominant forever and fail to realize last time they were relevant. There's a lot of fan bases that are, I will say this, Chicago is a good sports town. But yeah, they, it's funny. I keep hearing it's no brainer. The 85 Bears are the greatest team of all time. It's not even close. They would have beat every team in every era by 80 points. And it's like, really? Yeah, I get that. I get that, Funk. Yeah. But I keep seeing Chris Jones to Chicago. So that's the number one free agent by the NFL's top 100 list. Kirk Cousins is interesting because I saw somewhere where his wife is house shopping in Atlanta, and normally I kind of poo-poo that, and like it's noise. It doesn't really mean anything. It's not real. It's not what's going to happen, but it makes a lot of sense for Kirk Cousins to sign with Atlanta, and he's coming off of an injury. He's 36. I don't understand why teams aren't committing to Kirk Cousins long term. I remember Washington, he set like all sorts. Look up Washington's all-time passing yards single season passing yards records. Cousins is, I think, 1-3, and he is like 4,900. And I think it's Theismann 42, and then I think Cousins at 41. It's not even close. And for those of you who don't remember, they drafted RG3, number 3. He had this great rookie season, but in the 4th round, they drafted Kirk Cousins. And I remember thinking that I liked Cousins in another brain freeze. God, I'm just forgetting names left and right today. Mike Shanahan's system. I remember thinking Cousins fits like a hand in a glove in the Shanahan offense, but I'm not sure how RG3. And RG3 clashed with Shanahan, and it was just a disaster. And RG3's even kind of admitted, hey, my head got a little too big, of all the hype and everything, and I should have, but so you're a 4th round pick. You come in, you replace a superstar, you do better than what he did. And Washington just didn't want to commit long term. Minnesota, he goes to Minnesota. Him and Zimmer clash heads. They bring in Kevin O'Connell, and Kevin O'Connell never committed to him. And it just makes me wonder, is this guy is Kirk Cousins just a complete dick in the locker room? Is there a reason why nobody likes this guy? Is there a reason that people hate Kirk Cousins? I don't get it, but nobody wants to commit this guy long term. Here's the drill, though. Kirk Cousins in Atlanta with this team, and you have the 8th pick in the draft that you can use on an edge rusher, or you can go secondary, you can go wide receiver. I wouldn't, but Kirk Cousins as the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, I think makes them a Super Bowl contender. Because at 8th pick in the draft, you draft an impact player to get after the quarterback, which is their number one. And by the way, the defense has gotten a lot better. but they don't have a pass rusher. You get one at 8, or for hell, maybe you trade up at 8 and get a guy. Kirk Cousins to Atlanta makes them a Super Bowl contender. It makes sense. Could Cousins come back to Minnesota on a hometown discount? Yeah, maybe. I'm looking at Minnesota because they pick. I'm pretty sure. I don't know why I keep thinking Minnesota picks 12th. They pick 11th. So Minnesota picks 11, right? So Minnesota will pick at 11, and here's a drill. Did I just delete my list? Okay, so Minnesota. Okay, no, I didn't. So Minnesota picks at 11. Okay. I really think that they just say, hey, look, I just don't think that they want Cousins long term. Washington, like he played awesome in Washington. I don't know why. The Commanders wanted nothing to do with him. I have no idea why. They just didn't. Same thing in Minnesota. They just didn't want to commit to him, and Zimmer didn't get along. Zimmer got fired. Zimmer's now in Dallas. Maybe 2025, the head coach of Dallas Cowboys wouldn't surprise me. Could he take a hometown discount from Minnesota? Sure. I think Minnesota wants to move on. I don't know why, but nobody seems like Cousins. You put Cousins in Atlanta with those weapons, that's a Super Bowl contender. They need to get somebody to get after the quarterback. They do need that. You can get that at 8. They have 2 picks in the 3rd round, so it wouldn't surprise me if Atlanta even tries to trade up in this draft. Wouldn't make sense. That's kind of the only 2 teams I see for Cousins, though, is Atlanta or Minnesota. I don't. It's funny. Russell Wilson's actually in Pittsburgh today. Cousins makes more sense in Pittsburgh than Russell Wilson. I'd be honest with you. I have a hard time seeing Russell Wilson and Mike Tomlin getting along, but he's talking to the Steelers. He's also talking to the Giants. I'll be honest with you, Russell Wilson in New York makes a lot of sense only if they can move from Daniel Jones. I don't know how you get that to work because you just signed him to a deal. I don't think there's a big market for a guy who's got a big contract, had one so-so season, and it's coming off of an injury. So I don't know how you do that. But we'll see. I already talked about this, but Christian Wilkins is number 3, and I love Christian Wilkins. He can play in a 3-4. He can play in a 4-3. There's a chance that there's some sort of issue with him in the locker room. I've heard nothing about that. That's the only reason why. Because I look at the Miami Dolphins, and I was like, oh, yeah, you're going to sign Wilkins or you're going to tag him, and you did neither. And the only thing I can think of is that, okay, you're trying to set yourself up so that you can pay Tua, pay Waddle, pay Tyreek Hill, fix the offensive line, and we're bringing in new defensive coordinator. Fangio is, of course, going to Philly. I mean, you could draft a defensive tackle at 21. That's where they pick, right? 21, yeah. Are you getting somebody as good as Wilkins? If you get somebody as good as Wilkins at 21, well, then use one to draft. But and by the way, there's some good defensive tackles in this draft, and you can probably get one at 21. You're not going to get anybody as good as Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins is amazing. I love Christian Wilkins. This to me, I understand Chris Jones. I understand Kirk Cousins. Daniel Hunter's number 4. I understand that. Christian Wilkins makes no sense to me. Why is he a free agent? Who's interested in him? Everybody. I don't think it would happen, but I can see a scenario where the Chiefs don't sign Chris Jones, but they give all that money to Christian Wilkins instead. They give Christian Wilkins this massive deal instead of paying Chris Jones. That makes sense. I think Chris Jones will get more money than Wilkins, but not by much. Wilkins may get like a longer deal, but like I could see Chris Jones getting something like a 3-year, $100 million deal. And then I could see Wilkins getting like a 5-year, 130 or something like that. I'm just spitballing numbers, by the way. By the way, I'm sitting here going 5 years, 130 for Christian Wilkins. That's way too low. Probably closer to 5 years, probably 140, 145. Wilkins may make close to 30. Chris Jones wants like 35. So Danielle Hunter is another guy that signed a 1-year deal. The deal had a clause that you couldn't tag him, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I'm kind of wondering if, and I'm using ESPN, by the way. I'm going to use ESPN, which is not the most accurate. But I look at the depth chart, and here's the deal: because here's the drill. You have Michael Parsons, who's technically a linebacker, but he's playing more defensive end. And I don't know if they're going to move him to full-time defensive end, but you have DeMarcus Lawrence, you have Dorrance Armstrong, I forgot about Sam Williams. Never mind. I was going to say, because Mike Zimmer loves Danielle Hunter, I could see a situation where he would end up in Dallas, but I completely forgot about Sam Williams. So you have a lot of pass rushers there in Dallas. Doesn't make as much sense as I originally thought. Danielle Hunter, when he came out of LSU, I thought was better suited as a 3-4 outside linebacker. He put on the NFL 20. Just extremely disruptive. If I'm Minnesota, I move heaven and earth to keep him, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that what they're going to do is that I think they're going to go with it. I think they're going to try to trade up in the draft. I think they're going to try to get a quarterback, and then I think they're going to move on from Cousins. When I say it out loud, it makes sense. Hey, we're going to try to sign Danielle Hunter a long time. I don't think they want to. I think that they just want to move on and try after you make the trade up for a quarterback, which I think they will do. Try to rebuild the defense. Danielle Hunter could fit anywhere. I mentioned Chicago as a spot for Chris Jones. If you don't get Chris Jones, Danielle Hunter opposite Montez Sweat, good luck. Makes a lot of sense. It makes a ton of sense. I know the cap situation isn't perfect, but Danielle Hunter to Washington after you make the trade up for Caleb Williams. I talked about it, the Atlanta Falcons signing Kirk Cousins. If they get Kirk Cousins and Danielle Hunter, I don't think they have enough money to do both. But if both of them decide, hey, look, we go to Atlanta, oh God, no! I mean, that would just be dangerous. I do think Danielle Hunter at this stage is just more of a pure defensive end. Earlier in his career, I thought he was more of an outside linebacker. He put on weight. He's got length. I'm such a huge fan of Danielle Hunter. He's one of my favorite players. He can go anywhere. He could be dominant anywhere. If you move on from Cousins, I would try to sign him. A scary team for him to go to that nobody's really talking about, and it doesn't fit exactly, but the Tennessee Titans. He would be an outside linebacker. They have two guys. They had Harold Landry and I want to say Autry. Both of them had double-digit sacks last year, but I think they only had 42 sacks as a team. Jeffrey Simmons, just a monster, makes things a lot easier. You take a guy like Danielle Hunter, you put him on the Tennessee Titans, your front seven set, and then you have the 7th overall pick in the draft. You could draft anything at 7. You could trade down, actually, have a lot of fun. Daniel Hunter, God, I love his play. If you can't sign Cousins, why aren't you going after? I have no idea why. This is like a locker room thing. This may be Kevin O'Connell's got a weird flinty ego. I don't know. Daniel Hunter, one of my favorite players. Going to make a lot of money. Deserves to make a lot of money. Tyron Smith, his situation's really weird. It was kind of funny I kind of want to rant about Tyron Smith that long, but what he did is he took a long-term guaranteed contract so that he knew he was going to get paid, but he was going to get paid less than market value, and he did that specifically because his wife is a money manager for it's a major financial corporation. They met at USC, and it was kind of I'm going to rant about it anyway. So it turned out to be his family ended up they ended up having to call the police on his family because his family arrived at this front door wanting money, and his wife's like, "No, I'm managing his money." She was like 5 years older, and his parents had a big deal because it was a white girl, but she was 25 when he was 20. He came to the NFL at 20. A lot of people don't realize that. He was really young. I think he declared for the draft. He was only 19. He played right tackle at USC, but he was so talented. They knew that everybody knew he could be a star on the left side. And he signed a long-term deal with guaranteed money, but it was for a smaller amount. And his wife was managing the money. It caused some problems, but now he's due to make a big payday, and he can play on the left side. He can play on the right side. I think his time's done in Dallas. But if you need a guy, he's 33. He's 33. He's had some injury issues. Possible elite right tackle, really good left tackle. Say you're in New York Jets. That's your biggest hole, left tackle. You pick 10th. All right, your defense is loaded. Instead of using that 10th pick on a rookie offensive lineman, which you don't know, maybe you sign Tyron Smith, plug and play at the left side. You're boom, you're set. Pick number 10, you can trade. You can take another wide receiver. You can do anything. You can do anything. I mean, the defense is loaded, so I'm pick number 10. Why am I even looking at the defense? But you sign Tyron Smith, plug and play on the left side. At 10, what do? You sign a wide receiver? Do you double dip? Jonah Williams, the right tackle for the Bengals. He was the starting left tackle. Then they went ahead and signed Orlando Brown from Kansas City, which I thought was a smart move at the time. Really didn't pan out as well as Orlando Brown or the Bengals thought, because he was pretty good, but hasn't really worked out. Jonah Williams, who wanted to trade after being told he'd move over to the right side, said, "Okay, I'll play right side," knowing that he'd hit free agency. Tyron Smith, plug and play. You're good to go on the right side. You would have to pay him, which is a bad thing. But look, you got the 18th pick in the draft. And so at pick number 18, you don't have to worry about your offensive line, or you can upgrade the interior at 18, which is kind of a reach, but you could do that. Any team really needing a left tackle or right tackle, Tyron Smith, number one tackle on the board. Injury issues, yeah. When healthy, really good player. Saquon Barkley, I've said this so many times. The NFL Network has him at number 6. I think it's a little high. And the only reason why I think it's a little high at 6 is because he has just not been able to stay healthy. When healthy, he's the most athletic running back in the draft. He's a guy that has, I mean, he's 230, 235, strong as a bull, but he runs like he's 180 pounds. Sometimes I watch Saquon Barkley, I get a little frustrated because it's like, dude, you do know that you're bigger than some linebackers and almost all safeties. Put your head down and get that tough yards. Phenomenal receiver. Is there a team that he could go to elevate them? So I look at the NFC. I look at San Francisco with CMC, Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery, kind of a nice duo there. Is there a team that I'm looking at that could really use a guy like Barkley? Tony Pollard's hitting free agency. If you want to roll the dice on Barkley, you put Barkley on Dallas. That would be a lot of fun. I think you're going to have more of a run-heavy team with the Chargers. Now, the Chargers, they're who knows what they're going to do. They have to make a lot of moves, so I wouldn't be surprised if they say no. The Raiders, I would be disappointed if the Raiders didn't sign Josh Jacobs. As if I was a Raiders fan. I mean, when I say disappointed, I'm putting my Raiders hat on here and saying, hey, I would rather have Jacobs, but let's say you miss out on Jacobs, but you can sign Barkley. Is that a loss or is it an upgrade? You have much more of a home run threat than you do the one negative about Jacobs, he's not a guy that you can score from anywhere on the field. Barkley is. The best fit for a guy like Barkley, though, would be the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans are a team that has a lot of free agents. But you put Barkley on the Houston Texans, and you pick again, was it 23? Did I get that right? Yeah, 23. So you pick 23. Have some fun, man. Because Jonathan Greenard is a guy that's also who's number 7 here, and I have no idea if he's going to be able to stay or not. He may be saying, "Hey, look, it's time to go." He may be wanting way too much money. It's hard to say. Barkley to Houston would make a lot of sense. It would make a lot of sense. And you put yourself in a situation where your offense is really good. And if Barkley stays healthy, alleviates some pressure off C.J. Stroud. So it could be a lot of fun. It could be a lot of fun. But Barkley could go almost anywhere. I don't think he has. I think the best situation for Barkley would be where you have somebody who's a number 2. And Devin Singletary, as well as he played last year, once he was in the lineup, I always visioned as more of the Robin. And Barkley's the guy, hey, listen, look, I'm going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, let's be honest, okay? If you sign Saquon Barkley, you have to plan that he's not going to play all 17. He's going to miss some time. If you're the Houston Texans, you got Devin Singletary, Dameon Pierce. These are guys that can start for the short term, and you're good with. That to me makes sense. If I'm the Houston Texans, I would see if I could get Barkley. It may be a tough fit. Jonathan Greenard, who's number 7, had 12.5 sacks last year. Man, probably going to cost too much. I keep saying the same thing over and over again. He would be a good fit in Chicago. That they need a pass rusher. Maybe you don't want to draft one at 9. Tennessee Titans have a lot of money. The Saints do not, but they've done a great job in restructuring their contracts. A lot of those players are staying with the Saints. They do need to get some pass rush help. I don't see how they can sign them, but that would be a perfect spot. Another spot that would be really good is Tampa Bay, who's leaking money, but they still have yet to sign Baker Mayfield. They signed Mike Evans, which I was kind of surprised about. Speaking of Mike Evans, number 8's Calvin Ridley. There was times I remember watching him with Atlanta, and I thought he was a top 10 wide receiver. And there was times that I watched him with Jacksonville, and I thought he was just going to be dominant. Then he looked like he was a guy that didn't even belong on the field. I think that after watching one whole season and also Evan Ingram kind of growing and Travis Etienne growing, Christian Kirk's probably the guy you really want to keep, and you got him under contract. I think Ridley's the type of guy that I said this before, but I mean, for a team like the Houston Texans that needs a number 2, I think Ridley would be perfect because at times he can be a 1. I think he's better suited to be a number 2. I think he's going to cost too much money, but going to a place like Kansas City where they got, they already have Kelsey and you got young Rashee Rice, I think it would be too much money for the Chiefs, but a guy like Calvin Ridley would be perfect in Kansas City. Remember, they got rid of MVS. Ridley would probably cost too much, but in a place like Kansas City, I think would be perfect. That would be like if I was Ridley and I wanted to win, but I think Ridley at this point, remember he missed a year, he had that suspension issue, probably wants to go somewhere he can get paid. What I think a good spot for him would actually be the Giants, who I think at 6 could easily take a wide receiver. But Ridley's an interesting guy because I don't think you want to give him a huge amount of money, but he's a guy. God, when he was with the Falcons, his final season with the Falcons, he looked like he was a top 10 receiver. I mean, he looked really good. Can you get him there? Number 9 is Mike Owanu, and number 10 is Leonard Williams. Mike Owanu played guard and tackle, and he had to switch over to tackle, played phenomenal at tackle. He can play inside, outside. Really good lineman. Leonard Williams, so here's what happened. Seattle gave up a second-round pick in this year's draft and a 2025 fifth-rounder for half a season, and Seattle didn't even make the playoffs. This was a move kind of facilitated by Pete Carroll, not John Schneider. You're not going to be able to get Williams back. Leonard Williams is 30, but he is so good. He is so good. As a pure 3-4 end, he's a pure 5 technique. There's very few that are better, and I think that's what he is. I don't think he's really a guy that you really want to play defensive tackle. You can put him at defensive end in a 4-3, and that's good. But he's like the perfect 5 technique. This is a guy that some team should get, and I love Leonard Williams. He's always been one of my favorite players, and it was kind of a move that when Seattle made. Remember, Seattle was at one point in time. Remember Trent Williams went down, and the Niners were 6 or at one point they were 5. I think it was 5-3, and Seattle. I think their bye was later or something like that, but they were 5-3 or 6-3. They were first place in the NFC West, and they made this move to kind of push them over a hump, and it didn't work. Not Leonard Williams' fault. It was just kind of a combination of different things with Seattle, and partly because once Trent Williams got healthy, San Francisco had the best team in the NFC. They were the best team in the NFC last year. A guy like Leonard Williams, though, I know I was talking, Funk was talking about this. Leonard Williams is a guy that Detroit could sign. And he's a guy that if Funk, if you're going to listen, I know Funk listens afterwards, so Leonard Williams in Detroit would make a lot of sense. You could probably sign him, keep him in the budget. And here's the thing: he's when I watch Aiden Hutchinson, he looks better in a 2-point stance than 3-point stance. You put Leonard Williams and Aiden Hutchinson on one side of the ball. Yeah, what do you do? What do you do? I mean, it's going to be tough because he should get a lot of money. He deserves to get a lot of money. He's 30. He's been in the league a long time. He's a guy that because he doesn't have he's more of a run stuffer. I hate calling him a run stuffer because he's not really just a run stuffer, but he doesn't get the flashy sack totals. That's why people don't realize what a great player he is. If you can get him for less than market value and you're the Detroit Lions, that would be a guy I would target because he would really solidify the interior. He would completely change your team. He would completely change your team. And if I'm the Detroit Lions, I try to make it work. But Leonard Williams going to Detroit make a lot of sense. Mike Owanu, who's ranked at 9th, he's ranked over Leonard Williams. I would put Leonard Williams actually over Owanu, Ridley, Greenard, Barkley. I would put Leonard Williams at 5. I don't agree with this list. I have a huge man crush on Leonard Williams. So he's just way too good of a player. He shouldn't be this low. And he's 10th out of 101. That's not bad. But he's that good of a player. He really is. Mike Owanu can play guard or tackle. I talked about Tyron Smith. If you want a long-term answer, on the right side, your Cincinnati Bengals, Owanu makes a lot of sense because you could draft him or you could sign him in free agency, make him the right tackle, and then you pick at 18. Bengals pick 18. Yeah, Bengals. So it goes Seattle 16, Jacksonville 17, Cincinnati 18. So you pick 18th. Let's say you get a tackle. One of these tackles falls in the draft and you go tackle, you push Owanu inside. Or one of these tackles you want to try inside for a year. Maybe you want to move on from Orlando Brown. Owanu is a guy. By the way, Jawan Taylor and Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey made a move in this contract that freed up, I think it was $11 million. And then Justin Simmons was also released by the Broncos. So McGlinchey and Jawan Taylor for the Chiefs made over $20 million a year at right tackle. Owanu is almost just as good as those guys. Plus, he's also a really, really good guard. He's a guy that he's probably not going to make $20 million in the open market at right tackle, but it wouldn't surprise me if he signed like a 4-year, $75 million deal, very close to $20 million. You got a hole at right tackle, all right? Dallas, Cincinnati, it makes a lot of sense. Jacksonville, which I think Cam Robinson could be a cap casualty. You drafted Anton Harrison in the first round last year. You put him at right tackle. If you move him over to left, you sign Owanu, put him on the right, you're good to go. You re-signed your guards. Sheriff's had some problems staying healthy. That's another move that you can make. Owanu is a guy that I really like, and I'll be honest with you. It says here that he's better at right tackle than guard. I'm not so sure about that, but he's a really good player. He's a really good player. I think it's a mistake personally that the Patriots are going to let him hit free agency, but there's going to be a team that signs him and it's going to be very, very happy. He's a very good player. Number 11 on the list here is kind of a questionable one. CJGJ, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, got injured early for the Lions. He can do a lot of different things. This is a guy who can do a lot of different things. I could see a situation where he re-signs with Detroit. Man, I don't think the Lions really need to keep him because what they did in the second round is made one of the smartest moves. Well, it wouldn't really it's kind of a no-brainer when they signed Brian Branch after he got out of the first round, which made no sense at all. You had a guy like this. Take a look at a team like Seattle, who released both their safeties. Neither one of the safeties have hit this list yet, but Seattle needs 2 new safeties. A guy like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson makes a lot of sense in Seattle. I don't think he re-signs with Detroit. I think Detroit kind of moves on. I can see CJ signing another 1-year deal, though, and a prove-it deal, because when he 2 years ago at the Eagles, he was amazing, and I thought he was going to break the bank. He signed a 1-year deal with Detroit, then he gets hurt, so it didn't work out. Could resign with Chicago. Could sign with Chicago. Tennessee's another team. He can do so many different things, but he's coming off an injury. He did play in the NFC Championship game. Didn't really look like the same guy, though. He's young. He's talented. You want to give him a multi-year deal, though. Does he sign another 1-year deal? He could fit almost anywhere. And here's a drill. In a pinch, he can play corner, but I think he's one of those multifaceted safeties. If I'm Seattle, I'm taking a hard look at this guy, because you released both your safeties, which you're a team without safety. Mike McDonald, the former Ravens defensive coordinator, who had oh God, I can't believe I forgot his name. I told everybody before the draft this wasn't Derwin James 2.0, and he ends up being better than Derwin James 2.0, and I can't remember his name. The big safety from Notre Dame, who I swear to God, he made like 18 tackles against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, number 14. How many names am I going to forget? This is why I always. As a matter of fact, I just met this girl who's kind of flirting with me a little bit, and she has kind of a strange name, so I remembered it. But I'm going to call her Baby. You know the drill. Call her Baby. Don't call her by the wrong name. Number 14, and I'm just drawing a complete blank. I remember coming out of the draft, people were saying he's Derwin James. I'm like, nope, he's not that good. He's better. I was dead wrong about him. So you have that type of guy. Could Gardner Johnson be that type of guy? Actually, he can. Different type of skill set, more of a back end guy, where this guy's I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. One of my favorite players, a guy I was dead wrong about, and he's going to make a ton of money. Kyle Hamilton. By the way, when he hits free agency, he's going to make a ton of money. An absolute boatload of money. Pittsburgh's another team, just like Patrick Peterson. But I don't know if he's the type of guy I'd really fit with Mike Tomlin. So interesting. I think 11's a little high, but Bryce Huff, number 12, guy's going to hit free agency. Remember they drafted Will McDonald in the first round last year when they couldn't get an offensive tackle because New England wouldn't trade. They drafted Will McDonald. Bryce Huff, who at times looks amazing. If I'm the Detroit Lions, this would be a guy I would circle, because for some reason or another, he was a part-time player, but when he did play, he was phenomenal. This is a guy that I would really like to see opposite Aiden Hutchinson. You may be able to get him on a 1-year prove-it deal. And this is a guy that, if I'm Detroit, I already mentioned this here, but Bryce Huff's a guy I would circle, and same thing with Leonard Williams. You sign those two guys on your front seven, you're done. Your front seven's awesome. Bryce Huff's a guy, I don't understand why he's not an every down player. You got a lot of talent on that Jets defensive line, so I get it. But this is a guy that just at times looks really, really good. There may be something. Maybe he doesn't like stuff and run. I don't know. But pass rushers like this are really hard to find. If I'm the Detroit Lions, this would be a guy I would circle, because you may be able to get him on a 1-year prove-it deal. he could be a guy that could be your answer opposite Aiden Hutchinson. Pay attention, Lions fans, of Bryce Huff. Don't be surprised if Detroit visits him. One of my favorite players in the NFL is Kendall Fuller. He was part of the Alex Smith trade to go to Washington after we got that Patrick's, whoever it is, for the Chiefs. And Kendall Fuller was phenomenal, played inside, outside, and then when some injury issues happened, played safety, ended up re-signing with Washington. Now he's over 30, and this is a guy that's a really, really good player. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. He played a little bit of safety for the Chiefs. And matter of fact, he was the Chiefs safety opposite Tyrann Mathieu. When the Chiefs won the Super Bowl against the 49ers the first time. This is a really, really good football player, folks. He's listed at 39, but the NFL Network's calling him the over 30. So, okay, I don't have his birth date here. But he's a guy that if you need a starter or a nickel, this is your guy. He's not, I know he's a little older. Don't overlook this guy. Kendall Fuller's a very good football player, folks. A very good football player. I'd love it for him to come back in Kansas City if you can't make a deal with Snead, because he can do the same thing Snead can do. So, very good football player. Wouldn't surprise me if Washington tries to re-sign him, but we'll find out. Xavier McKinney's ranked 14th, maybe a little high, even though I'm very high on McKinney. He was a guy I really liked coming out of Alabama. He can do everything. Winfield was tagged. So he was tagged. He didn't sign a long-term deal yet. It's probably going to happen. But when McKinney's a really good football player, folks. This is a guy that I really like. I think 14's a little high. With Wink Martindale with the Giants, this is a guy that you would want. He's a do everything type of safety. I don't know what they're doing in New York. Here's a drill. There's not a first round safety available, but there's some decent guys in the second round that you can get. If I'm the Giants, I would make a push to keep this guy, but let's just say you can't. Where does he fit anywhere? San Francisco's a spot that I could see. They're bringing Tefanu comes back from injury, getting some youth and another guy that would make a lot of sense. It may be kind of unnecessary. One thing about San Francisco, they got awarded some compensatory picks. So. I mentioned his protege, who was his linebackers coach in Baltimore before he took over as defensive coordinator, now with Seattle. That's a plug and play. McKinney going to Seattle. I mean, he becomes your day one starter at either safety spot. That would make a lot of sense as well. He's probably the best safety prospect available. I think 14's a little high, though. Is there another safety? I mean, if you're calling, here's the deal. Gardner Johnson's sort of a slot corner safety, and Kendall Fuller's really a corner. So that's why I say McKinney's just like the best safety prospect. But you could wordsmith that however you want. McKinney's a really good player. 15 on this list, and it says the first thing it says here is ESPN, or I'm sorry, the NFL Network says my editor believes this is high for Brown. I think it's high too. He shouldn't be at 15. Christian Kirk signed for a big deal last offseason. It was 4 years, I think 80-some million. So Marquise Brown, you get that. Marquise Hollywood Brown. Big play threat. I'm thinking Arizona wants to get somebody else in the draft. he's going to cost more than MVS. I already brought this up a couple times already. Who's the other receiver I was talking about? Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley has shown more than Brown, but a guy like Brown, I keep in mind the Chiefs gave up Tyreek Hill so they can win without a deep threat, but a guy like Hollywood Brown would really add something. Buffalo would be a great fit. If you have to move on from Tyler Boyd, it's expensive. Now, keep in mind, if you sign Marquise Brown, even though you tagged Higgins, you'd have to move on from Higgins. Marquise Brown in a place like Kansas City, I think, would be a lot of fun. I think 15's way too high, just like the editor said. However, it makes a lot of sense. He's a big play dude, and is he as good as Christian Kirk? Who signed for a 4-year, $80-some million deal with Jacksonville? Yeah, he is. So it makes sense. Number 16, Stephon Gilmore. Really, really good player. Really dipped in productivity. He's solid number 2 now. If I'm a team that needs a locker room leader, I overpay for a guy like Gilmore, even though he's not near the player he is. If I'm a young team, I would love to have a guy like Gilmore. I'm kind of looking at the Steelers as a great fit. They let go of Patrick Peterson. I'm drawing a blank on the guy that they signed in free agency. Didn't really work out. You put him opposite of Joey Porter Jr. Now Patrick Peterson's gone. But here's the drill: if you didn't re-sign Patrick Peterson, why are you going to go after Gilmore? Gilmore is a guy that I think's not going to sign until near the start of the season, and then there's going to be a player that gets hurt, and then he's going to sign. 16, I think, would be. I think 16 is way too high. I'll be honest with you. He's not the same guy, even though he's a great player. Borderline Hall of Famer. Really, really good football player. So it's funny. The NFL Network says the league leader in inspiring others to yell, "Who is that?" It's Frankie Louvu. If you don't know who he is, it's because he's been playing in Carolina. This is a really, really, really good football player. He's going to leave in free agency, I think, because he's wallowed in anonymity, obscureness, whatever you want to call it. People inside the NFL know how good of a player this is. This is a very, very, very good football player. He's not going to re-sign with Carolina. He's going to sign with somebody. This is a guy could very, very easily be a Pro Bowl caliber player on another team. I'm looking at God, the NFL Network does a shit job with stats, but should be I'll be honest, they got him at 17. They got Patrick Queen at 19, but more people know who Patrick Queen is than Frankie Louvu. I'm probably butchering that name. I think they may have done it right. He's going to break the bank for somebody. 18's Robert Hunt. He's a guard. He's played a little bit of tackle. I loved him coming out of college. I don't get why Miami doesn't want to keep him around or let him hit free agency. Another kind of questionable move, because I know that they're you know what? I'm beginning to wonder if Miami made some moves that I'm just missing about, because I really thought that what they were going to do here is I thought that they were going to let Austin Jackson walk in free agency, and they were going to have to sign Robert Hunt because he could play tackle in a pinch. But I don't know why, but they didn't do that. So this is a guy I think that could play tackle. He's best suited for guard. This is a really good football player. I think 18's a little high, especially when you got Patrick Queen at 19. Patrick Queen's just been dominant. Patrick Queen at 19. I think the reason why is that he's 19 is because he's not as good as Roquan Smith. Yeah, NFL Network says he's a high risk, high reward, 3-down linebacker. That's not true at all. I don't think he's a high risk player. I think he's an excellent player. I would have Lavu ranked a little higher because you can get him for less money and you maybe get a better player. Patrick Queen 19 should be ranked higher, but this is a guy who's going to get a big deal from somebody and deserves it. Lloyd Cushenberry is 20, center for the Denver Broncos. Guy I really liked coming out of LSU. He was the center for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and all those guys. Really, really good football player. I thought he could play. He played center and hasn't played anywhere else. But the centers, I think he can play guard as well, is what I'm trying to say. But I mean, he's a natural center. Kind of surprised Denver's going to let him walk in free agency. He's going to get some money somewhere. And that's not a good thing because Creed Humphrey, the Chiefs starting center, is going to make more than Cushenberry, but Cushenberry's a really, really good player. Pittsburgh lost their starting center. If Pittsburgh decides not to draft the center and they go with a guy like Cushenberry, they can get very creative in this draft, but Cushenberry going to Pittsburgh, if you're a Steelers fan, I'd kind of put a circle around that because Cushenberry's a really good player. Not a great center, but really good player. I'm kind of surprised he's hitting free agency, to be honest with you. I don't agree with this at all. 21, 22, and 23 is Jacoby Brissett at 21, Baker Mayfield 22, Derrick Henry at 23. All right. Derrick Henry should be higher than 23 because he gives you a goal line threat. And if he plays all 17, which is iffy because he's over 30 and he's a lot of wear and tear. If he's healthy in the playoffs, your offense is completely different. You put him on a pass heavy team, somebody like Dallas, Kansas City, you can go Detroit. I don't think he'd be a good fit in Detroit, but you get what I'm saying. A team that throws the ball around a lot. Derrick Henry adds something. All right. Goal line. I think he's going to sign with Dallas. I've been saying this for a while. A lot of people think Baltimore, which I don't see Baltimore really doing that because I think that Derrick Henry is going to ask for a little more money. I think Baltimore has some other holes. Baker Mayfield's ranked below Brissett. I get that. Brissett, for some reason or another, is not going to get a chance to be an NFL starter, and he probably should. I think he's going to be a backup, and I think Baker's going to be a starter. The way I see it, I firmly believe Baker will re-sign with Tampa, and it makes sense. If you're a team and you need a backup quarterback or you're planning on drafting a quarterback high in this draft, Washington, he could return to New England, would make a lot of sense in New England. Let's say you're Chicago and you do what I don't think you're going to do, and you're going to take Caleb Williams. Getting Brissett as your backup makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't even be surprised if a team like Denver. I'll tell you what, if I'm Denver, because I got rid of Russell Wilson, I wouldn't mind bringing Brissett in. Brissett could fit in that offense. Same thing with the Raiders. If you want to go with Aiden O'Connell, which I think they're going to try to draft a quarterback as well, Brissett would be a great fit. Brissett's going to last because I think that some team is going to wait. Baker, I think, signs with Tampa, but he's a free agent. He wanted to break the bank in Cleveland, paid the price for it. So we'll have to find out. This is going to be very interesting. Brissett at 21 is a little high. That's just the way I see it. That's the way I see it. Derrick Henry at 23 is also a little low. So 24 is Gabe Davis. Chase Young's 25, and Zadarius Smith is 26. I saw a clip of Chase Young in the playoffs just walking during a live play, and it really bothered me because I remember hearing a podcast of him going vegan for the combine, and and hearing this guy and then watching him as a rookie, I thought this was going to be a superstar. And here you're San Francisco and you trade for this guy to make the Super Bowl push, and he really doesn't add to your team. There was a lot of upside with Chase Young. I said this before the Bengals drafted Burrow. I said I would draft Chase Young instead and sign Teddy Bridgewater. But after watching him with San Francisco, this just doesn't look like the guy. If you're a young guy, I'm looking at a team like Seattle, Mike McDonald taking over. Are you a young coach? Maybe you want to try to roll the dice, bring some life into this guy, maybe bring him in, see what you can do. So Darius Smith's ranked below him, but there's no question I would take Smith over Young. But if I'm a young if I got a team with established pass rushers already, could I take Chase Young? If I'm a coach like maybe Todd Bowles, could I bring him in? I think Chase Young is a guy that's going to have to sign a 1-year prove-it deal. So Darius Smith's a guy I really like, and he's been wildly productive, but he's over 31, so I get why he's hit free agency. Gabe Davis at 24. God, I remember he had 4 touchdown game against the Chiefs in the playoffs, and that was the highlight of his career. Big, fast, strong. His ceiling's a 2. I'm looking at a team like the Titans. I think would really benefit from a guy like Gabe Davis. It wouldn't surprise me if he re-signs in Buffalo. I think 24 might be a little high for him. So Darius Smith is a guy that I would really, if you need a pass rusher, I would love to see Zadarius Smith. I already mentioned Atlanta would be a perfect spot. Chase Young, is there a coach I can turn on the light? Because you go to San Francisco and the light doesn't turn on, I don't know what to do. He's a guy opposite Aiden Hutchinson would make a lot of sense, but does he have that knee biter attitude? No, he doesn't. It's just the opposite. So do you maybe your team like Detroit and say, look, I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to get you amped up. Could work. I think he's going to sign a 1-year prove-it deal. '27 is Josh Jacobs, 28 is Jordan Brooks, 29 is Andrew Van Ginkel. Andrew Van Ginkel is one of my all-time favorite players. I love him coming out of Wisconsin. He's a do-it-all type of guy. I would love for him to come to Kansas City because he can do off-ball, edge, linebacker. He can do it all. Oh, my God, it's my girl. Hey, Girl TV, it's Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl. I'm sorry, the move to Vegas has been really bad so far. I'm not gonna lie. I have to call the handyman to fix up the rest of the things. It's been almost a month, but starting to get into a routine. You can tell I didn't shave. I didn't have enough time today. I've been still trying to. Maybe it's my anal retentiveness, but the move to Vegas has not been as well as I thought it would. So I've been kind of. It's funny. My buddy called me a couple times, and I called him back. And I'm not seeing him in the stream, my buddy Tim, but he also he travels a lot, so I know that he listens to my stuff after the show, or after I'm live. And Tim, if you're listening here, Tim, if you're listening, man, I'm gonna try to call you. I said I was gonna call next day, and I didn't. I'm gonna try to call. I did get a hold of Denver Gator, talked to him briefly, and I also got a call my buddy Chad. Chad's like a brother to me. I haven't talked to him since I moved out, but it's been rough out here. I'm coming out soon to help. I got you. I seriously, I would be embarrassed to have you over because this place, I spent almost $150 at Sam's Club on just cleaning supplies. I've got like the 40-pack of paper towels. I'm not joking. The box is enormous. I think it's 40 or 42-pack of paper towels. No joke. I got the big thing of bleach with the spray gun, the 4-pack of disinfectant wipes. The only thing I haven't done is bought touch-up paint and a caulking gun, because I've never done caulking before. I'm gonna recaulk. Some of this stuff's just disgusting. It turned out to be the fireplace. I thought the flue was broke, and it is. And the guy's like, well, you can do it by the hand. I didn't see the handle, but he told me that the fireplace was built in the 50s. So, and he says, whatever you do, don't have the flue. So, but yeah, I need to talk to you. I apologize. It's just the move out to Vegas has been it's not been as good as expected, but I'm starting to get things ironed out. Wait, back to the picks here. Andrew Van Ginkel is a guy that, a Bill Belichick type of dude. Mike McDonald for Baltimore, a do everything type of linebacker. I think Wink Martindale, I'm not 100% sure. I think he signed to be part of the defensive staff in Philly with Vic Fangio. I don't know that for a fact, but a guy like Fangio, Van Ginkel can do a little bit of everything. You need to have a defense that can be creative. The more creative the defense that you have, better an Andrew Van Ginkel will be. I'd love for him to come to Kansas City. It doesn't really fit because the Chiefs drafted an edge rusher in the first round that they're going to try to work in with Karlaftis, and then you got Leo Chenal. Really, really, really good football player. Josh Jacobs is 27 and just such a good running back. I'm a huge Josh Jacobs fan, and I think the Raiders are making a mistake letting him hit free agency. If you need a bell cow back, Josh Jacobs is the guy for you. He's not a home run threat. If I'm a team that wants to run the ball, old school Titans, now I don't know what things are going to be like with Callahan. Josh Jacobs makes a lot of sense. I think what Jim Harbaugh wants to do with the Chargers, Josh Jacobs is like a hand in a glove. And that makes a lot of sense. It wouldn't surprise me if Jacobs comes over to the Chargers and take the over on yardage when he plays against the Chargers. I'll take that. Oh my God. The B in the Back Talk Brothers. The great one. You know what? Can we use the myth? Is it not? Because we got the great one, the myth, the talent. Gooch! It's really funny because you came in at the perfect time. I was talking about Josh Jacobs. He went to some SEC school. I don't know which one it is. It's kind of funny because they had a stretch. It was Derrick Henry and then Jacobs. There's another one. I'm going to use. Oh, please do. And I'm sorry, I have not been on Wednesday. The move out to Vegas has been really, really rough. It's not been as good as expected, so it's been tough. But yeah, Josh Jacobs is a guy I absolutely loved coming out of Alabama. Loved coming out of Alabama. This is a really good player. If you need a bell cow back, and I think the Chargers is probably the best fit. A team like Baltimore would make a lot of sense as well. I don't know if Baltimore. Here's the thing: if I'm Jacobs, I would not. Okay, Jonathan Taylor for the Colts got a lot of money. And so Barkley, Jacobs, I haven't found on this list. I haven't found where. God, I'm just drawing a blank. I can't believe I forgot his name already. The Chargers running back who is even on this list. God, I'm going through this list here. Austin Eckler, he's number 79 on this list. Yeah. To tell you the truth, I think Eckler would be a better fit for Kansas City than Jacobs. But I'm a huge Jordan. I apologize. I should have gone through this list earlier and ranked them because the list for the NFL is I don't think really accurate. I'm going at the bottom here. I'm looking at 101's Michael Thomas. That's an interesting player. Sheldon Rankins at 100. Donovan Smith at 99. Devin Singletary, 98. Emmanuel Agba at 97. And I'm looking at a lot of these guys here. And matter of fact, Andrus Peat re-signed with I'm almost positive he re-signed with the Saints. Daquan Jones is I actually thought he is a defensive tackle. I don't know why he's listed here as a defensive end. Anthony Jennings at 91 is an interesting player. I loved coming out of Alabama. Micah Hyde, I forgot he was 33, but he's ranked at 89th. That's a low number. Tyrod Taylor's 35. Oh God, that's a guy. Gardner Minshew's 87. Josh Jones is a guy that man, I forgot. God, he's a free agent. This is a really good football player, Josh Jones. He's ranked at 85. Jameis Winston's 84, and I wouldn't have him on the list. Talent-wise, Jameis Winston, arm talent, size, athleticism, top 10, top 12 in the NFL starters. There's a reason he's not a starter. And there's a couple teams that are looking to draft a quarterback. Why not go Winston? I didn't think about it, but Jameis Winston in Denver makes a lot of sense. He was playing decent with Sean Payton. Knows the offense. Why not? I didn't think about it. I wouldn't put him at 84. Tyler Boyd at 83 is another guy way too low. Winston shouldn't be on the list. Boyd at 83. Boyd is a phenomenal player. Had injuries, didn't have a good year last year, but this is a guy I would love to have in a place like Kansas City. A lot of people think that Kansas City should sign a big time player. I would go with Tyler. I'm a huge Tyler Boyd fan. 83 is way too low. Brandon Graham's 82 is number 82. He's 36. I would really hate for him to not sign back with the Eagles, but it's hard when you have that many pass rushers. But God, he's such a good player. But he's 36. J.K. Dobbins is 81. I wouldn't put him on the list at all, just because talent-wise, he's phenomenal. He's never been healthy, so I there's an old saying, can't make the club in the tub. Jordan Whitehead at 80. That's a pretty good player. Matter of fact, I kind of forgot about him. He's a guy that I think Seattle should target. Eckler at 79 is too low. Way too low. It says he has clearly diminished explosiveness because he shouldn't be used inside. He's never been an inside guy. He should be in a place like Kansas City. Kansas City would love Austin Eckler. Odell Beckham at 78. Big name. Shouldn't be on this list, to be honest with you. I would love it for him to be in Kansas City. I really would. He just costs too much. Here's a guy that's going to be expensive, and I don't think he's really. He wasn't. Remember the AFC Championship game? He was on the bench, and then the guy that fumbled, I'm drawing a blank on the rookie's name, had a great rookie year, but cost the Ravens a chance for the Super Bowl by his immature behavior. When he got benched, because when he lost the touchdown, he smacked something, punctured something in his hand. His hand was bleeding. They put Beckham in there, and then the offense started to click. Why aren't you using him? There's a reason why. If he wasn't a big name, he would be a top priority signing because he's a big name. He's going to ask for a lot of money. There's a team out there. I think the best team for him, but he won't go there because contract won't work out. But Kansas City's a perfect fit for Odell Beckham. I don't think I'll go there though. Russell Wilson at 77 is interesting. I'm really surprised that Pittsburgh's looking at him. Interesting guy. Keyshawn Nixon, 76, a pretty good corner, really good slot returner, kind of an underrated guy. 76, this guy should be much higher. Josie Jewell at 75 is a really good player. It's kind of funny because him and Willie Gay Jr. is 73. So here's the drill. Willie Gay, and I've said this so many times, if you're to say, God, build me a linebacker, you're building somebody like Willie Gay. He's 6'1", 245, ran at 4.46 at the combine. He's super fast, super athletic. He can kind of do it all, but he's really inconsistent. So what the Chiefs did is they signed Drew Tranquill to a 3-year, $19 million deal. Great signing because this year he signed for a 1-year, $3 million deal. And Andy Reid's, because Drew Tranquill's a really good player for the Chargers that they just didn't want for whatever reason. Big mistake by the Chargers. Signs with Kansas City, and Andy Reid's like, hey, look, come here on 1-year deal, win a Super Bowl, and then see what happens. Balled out because Bolton got hurt, Gay got hurt. Gay's inconsistent, but if he plays and you can use him in the right way, oh my God. So Jordan Brooks is going to be a free agent. Maybe you want to replace him with a guy like Willie Gay. It'd be interesting. DeAndre Swift, I didn't know was going to be a free agent. God, he was so good that first part of the season. Then the Eagles just, I don't know what the fuck they're thinking, but DeAndre Swift, when the Chiefs drafted CEH, Carlos Edwards-Helaire, I really thought they were getting Swift. Swift's such a good player. I would put Swift a lot higher in 74. I don't know why the Eagles didn't use him more, and I have no idea why the Lions didn't use him the same way that they were using Gibbs, but things have seemed to work out good for both players. Leonard Floyd, 72. Wow, that is way too low. 10.5 sacks. Leonard Floyd, when he was at Georgia, I absolutely loved this guy. He did everything. He was like middle linebacker, edge rusher, defensive end. They put him in the nose. For some reason, he was listed at 6'4", 230, and he gets to the combine, he's 6'6", 240. Usually that's flip-flopped. I remember the Bears when they drafted him because he was 6'6", 240. The Bears drafted him, I think it was 8th overall, and they said every 4 hours you're going to take it was something crazy because they wanted him to bulk up to like the 270 to play like defensive end, even though I think at the time they're running like a weird 3-4. It was like every 4 hours you have to digest so many calories, and it was a bust. It never worked out. Then he goes to the Rams, played phenomenal. Goes to the Bills, played phenomenal. Because they reworked the contract with Von Miller, but they really should. They really, really should. He really should keep Floyd. He's 31, wildly productive player. Guy I absolutely love. 72, he should be higher on this list. Noah Fant at 71. He came out the same year. As T.J. Hawkinson. Both were tight ends out of Iowa, and Fant, for whatever reason, didn't pan out in Denver. I don't think he was used right in Seattle. He's 26. He's 71. The sky's the ceiling with Fant. It's just nobody's been able to unlock it. I would love for a team like Kansas City, a team. It wouldn't make sense because you got Laporta, but a team like Detroit, a team with a stud tight end that could use a lot of 2 tight end sets. A guy like Noah Fant is a guy that, for whatever reason, I just don't think he's being used right. Put him at the right spot, get a good offensive mind. If I'm Sean Payton, I don't know if Fant has bad feelings about Denver, but because he was part of the Russell Wilson trade. If I'm Denver, I bring Noah Fant back and work with whoever could be a rookie. But Noah Fant, sky's ceiling. So looking at the top 101 players, he's 71. I named about 10. I think that would be better free agents than Noah Fant, but the sky's the limit with Fant. Shaquille Barrett, 70, and really good player. Just they've used a lot of draft capital over the last couple of years at edge rusher in Tampa Bay, and Barrett signed a big deal. Hasn't been able to stay healthy. Probably not every down player, but this is a really, really good football player. If you're, I would like to see him go to a team kind of like Baltimore, which would figure out the good way to use him. A team like Kansas City would be perfect, where he'd be more of a situational type player, really not needed in Baltimore. Really good player though. I would put him higher in 70 because I'm looking at Geno Stone, John Runyon, Josh Eamon, and he's better than all these guys. But Geno Stone, 7 interceptions last year. He's ranked number 69. Starting caliber safety. I think here's a drill. When you see 7 interceptions, you're thinking playmaker. He's really not. Starting caliber safety, good player. John Runyon, 68, offensive guard. I was a huge fan of his dad. His dad was the dirtiest player in the NFL for a long time with the Eagles, and John Runyon's a really solid player. Josh Eamon, kind of surprised that the Packers are letting Eamon and Runyon go. It kind of leads me to believe maybe they want to go offensive line in the draft. God, there's so many. I kind of, I'm going to keep going here, but I'm going to wrap this up in the next couple minutes. You have any thoughts, comments, suggestions? Just my throat's kind of falling out on me here. I'm seeing that there's a lot of people in the chat. Make sure you give me a thumbs up. KJ Osborne is 66. Just big, strong, fast, just wildly inconsistent. He's a guy that is really your best number 3. There could be a team that says, I can get this to work, but I don't see it really working in Minnesota. There could be a team that overpays and he could pan out, but just wildly inconsistent though. Size, speed, ability is there. Just, man, there's a lot of drops. So, man, it drives me nuts. Jeremy Chin at 65. He's a guy I absolutely love, and he's ranked 65 on this list. I get why. Should be ranked much higher just because he's such a good player. I remember Funk was really wanting him to go to Detroit, and I was like, well, and then they signed CJ instead. Last year, Chin could have broke the bank. This year, he's going to probably sign a one-year prove deal. Really, really good player. 65 is fair, but if you put Chin in a system where he can succeed, look for Chin to go to a place somewhere like Pittsburgh and really ball out. Jordan Fuller, really, really, really good player. He's 64. Kind of surprised he left in free agency, to tell you the truth. So, kind of surprised the Rams are letting him go. If I'm the Rams, I try to bring him in. Matter of fact, if I'm Seattle, I try to bring him in. Seattle, Bobby Wagner at 63. Jesus Christ. I've often said I think Bobby Wagner is one of the greatest middle linebackers to ever play. And when you talk about greatest middle linebackers of all time, the name Bobby Wagner usually doesn't show up in the conversation. It should. Well, it really he played phenomenal with the Rams last year. This year, kind of you could see he's 34. I mean, what the fuck? I've said Pittsburgh, I think the last 5 guys, but a team like Pittsburgh could use a veteran in that front 7. Their inside linebackers chipped on, falling apart. Here's the thing with Bobby Wagner is you could really see the age last year, but so many players have problems staying healthy, and Bobby Wagner doesn't. So I don't see him coming back. But if you're a team and you need a 3-down linebacker, even though he didn't look the same in the passing game, this is a good one. Marcus Davenport at 62, I think is way too high. Can never stay healthy. Has all the tools. He stays healthy for one full season. Could be a double-digit sack guy. I think I'd put him on a 1-year prove-it deal. That's what the Saints did. Didn't really prove it because he can't stay healthy. Really good talent, just can't stay healthy. Tannehill at 61. I think he's best suited to be a backup. Dory Jackson, actually, actually, I didn't know he was a free agent. This is a good player. He wasn't a Wink Martindale type of guy, but he's a guy that really, I always thought should be used inside as a slot dude. I remember when Titans drafted in the first round, I didn't like it. He's an excellent return guy, slot guy. Interesting player here. Devin White at 59. I remember when they beat Kansas City in the Super Bowl. He was one of the best. I've never seen a player like he was really, 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 really good. Just he fell out of favor with Bowles. I get that. Probably not coming back. It'd be very interesting to see where he goes. The sky's the limit with Devin White, but this is a guy I'm going to circle because I could see a team needing a linebacker and getting a guy like Devin White and him just exploding. I didn't know he was on this list. 59 is way too low, but when you see the upside, but he had a falling out with Bowles, so that kind of gets it. But you put him in the right scheme, in the right system, guy believes in him. Oh my God. Kristen Fulton at 58. I remember Kristen Fulton coming out of LSU. I had a first-round grade on him and just never been able to put it together. I don't know why. This is a 5-star athlete coming out of high school. At times looked dominant at LSU and just hasn't been able to stay healthy, just hasn't developed. I don't know why. I'll be honest with you, 58 is way too high. But I remember him coming out of LSU and there's something off, and maybe it's just changed scenery. Steven Nelson at 31 is a former Chief who is just such a good player, and it hasn't been able to stick anywhere, but really, really good player. Darnell Mooney, track guy, former 5th-round pick out of Tulane, had a great season. Had a few good seasons, but hasn't been able to improve on that. He's a guy, Chiefs fans, I would love for a guy like this to come to Kansas City, but here's the deal. He's had some 1,000-yard seasons, but he's really option 3. 56 is a little high, but people are looking at the 100-catch season, the 1,000-yard season. I get that. Kevin Zeitler, if he wasn't 34, he'd be top 10 on this. He's a really good player, but he's 34. Kind of surprised he's hitting free agency, to tell you the truth. Jonah Jackson. Some Lions fan told me that he was asking for top 5 money. It may have been Funk. I don't see that at all. Solid player. If he wants top 5 money, I'd stay away, but solid player. Connor Williams, tore his ACL, RCB much higher on this list. He's 53. Calais Campbell at 52. He's 38. I come to Kansas City, Calais Campbell. He signed I think it was 1 year, $9 million deal. Really, really, really still has some good Still, here's the problem. Atlanta didn't have enough on the front seven where a guy like Campbell can stand out, but a guy like Campbell in a place like Kansas City, minus Chris Jones, unfortunately, would really help out. Come to Kansas City, Calais Campbell, sign cheap and help us win a third ring. I love Calais Campbell. Didn't know he's 38. Going to be he probably won't be first ballot, but 10 years after he retires, he'll be in Canton, guaranteed. D'Amico Autry, I didn't know he was 34. He's a real good player. I'd probably have him ranked higher than 51. Aduze, Funk mentioned him. Great fit in Detroit. Solid number 2 guy, but really just the light bulbs never come on because this is a guy I thought that had a lot of he was a raw guy coming out of UCLA. Talent's never shown. Mitch Morris was on his salary cap casualty, one of the top 10 centers in the league. Ranked 49th, should be ranked much higher. He's better than Cushenberry, even though he's older. Better player. So if you need a veteran center, Mitch Morris is the guy should be ranked much higher. Jermaine Elamono, really solid tackle. Really solid tackle. I mentioned the Bengals several times. Jonah Williams at 47. Thing is with Jonah Williams, he's never panned out as the 11th overall pick in the draft, but he's a really good player, and he can play left or right side. I mentioned the Cowboys. Jonah Williams to the Cowboys would make a lot of sense. Plug and play on the right side. Dorrance Armstrong at 46. Who did I mention earlier? I thought would be a great fit. Oh yeah, Armstrong. Let Armstrong go. Can you sign Danielle Hunter? I forgot about Williams, and it'll be interesting. But don't rule out Danielle Hunter going to Detroit. But you have to move some guys. DJ Reader, if he didn't have that injury, would be would probably be top 10. Love this guy. Trent Brown. I forgot he was a. I forgot he was a free agent, to be honest with you. Can't stay healthy. 6'6", like 380, can't stay healthy. When he is healthy, one of the best right tackles in football. He's ranked 44th and he shouldn't be near this high. Here's the problem. He's so good when he's healthy. I think he's a guy that's not going to be signed, and then there's going to be some injuries, and he's going to sign. And if he stays healthy, he's going to get a big deal in 2025. Pollard's 43. God, I'd love to have him in Kansas City cheap, but since he's here at 43, it's going to be way too high. Curtis Samuel, 41. Oh, God. Big Samuel fan. Grover Stewart, 42. Really good player. Really, 42 is a good spot for him. Pollard, I would put lower in 43. Kenny Moore at 40. Here's the deal. The NFL Network's calling him a slot-only corner. He's really not. He can play inside or outside. People pigeonhole him because he's 5'9", but he can play outside. He's a really good football player. Should be ranked higher than 40. Probably not coming back, but it's the only thing. If Kenny Moore was 5'11", he'd probably be top 10 on this list. He's 5'9". He can play outside, but he can play inside also. Really good football player. 29's a little low. Or I'm sorry, 29's his age, but 40's a little low. Really good football player. It's only because he's 5'9", 5'11", top 10 player. Really, Kenny Moore's a really good football player. I'm surprised the Colts are letting him walk. Justin Simmons was just released by the Denver Broncos because I love it because he's such a really great player. Wherever Simmons goes, he's one of the top 5 safeties in football. Big mistake by Denver Broncos letting him go. It's a cap issue. I get it. Chiefs weren't loaded at safety. I would love to have him come to Kansas City, but doesn't really fit. Seattle's a team that may be interested because they're looking for safeties. Azir Al-Shalar, he played really well for the Titans last year. I'm kind of surprised. I actually didn't think he was a free agent. Error on error on me, but God, this is a really good football player. Julian Blackman, I forgot about him. He's 37 on this list, but he had a injury and high upside. 37 is way too high. Josh Uche, I don't know why Bill Belichick wouldn't start him full time, but there's nobody on this list that gets after the quarterback better than Uche. Well, there's only Daniel Hunter, Chris Jones. Well, maybe actually pure pass rusher. Uche is better than Jones. He was only a part-time player in New England. I kind of thought New England would re-sign him. I thought maybe he got in Belichick's doghouse. Mayo may be able, former linebacker, may be able to bring something out of him. I've said this several times. A guy like this goes to Detroit, plug and play next to Hutchins, give him a chance and see what he can do. Really good player. Fletcher Cox. Oh, God. Future Hall of Famer, really, 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 really good player, but he is 33. That's why he's 35 on this list. Probably a top 10 player, though. I didn't know Andre James made this list. Really good center. There's some good centers on this list. John Simpson, 33. Clowney's 32. Kind of rubs people the wrong way, man. If I'm him, I'd go back to Baltimore because he played really well for Baltimore last year. Probably going to be a guy that it's going to be signed late, get one of those one-year deals. Cameron Curl. God, this is a really good player. I don't know why Washington's letting him hit free agency. This is a guy, 7th-round pick. He earns a starting job, plays really, really well because he's 7th-round pick. People are overlooking it. He's ranked 31 on this list. It's a good spot. Really, really good player. I mentioned Seattle several times. Your team needs a safety. Cameron Curl. Don't be surprised he ends up in Pittsburgh as well. Levante David at 30. I don't know why he's not re-signed. So I went through all 101, even though I stopped at 29 with Van Geekel, then went to 101. This is a good list. I can't wait till free agency hits. Don't forget my mock draft will be released Monday morning. I haven't started making the video yet because I wanted to see what happened, like Matabuke, Jalen Johnson. I don't think there's going to be any signings over the weekends, but I'm going to pay attention. Mock draft will be released Monday morning. Please check it out. I'll go ahead and put it down for everybody. Please check it out and give me comments of what you want. If there's any comments, questions, concerns, now's the time. If not, I'm going to wrap it up. Guys, have a good weekend. Don't forget, mock draft will be released Monday. I'll be back Tuesday. Keep what the hell? All right. Can everybody hear me? I apologize. I don't know what happened. I had some technical issues. So I don't know if that's StreamYard or my internet. But, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining. Don't forget, all my social media links are below. Monday will be my mock draft. Check it out. Have a great weekend. I'll see you all back on Tuesday.